Hello there, this is Sarah from sarahdesign.com. I'm just going to pop you over there so you can see my website. Right now I don't have a blog, I just have my Creative Market shop, and you are welcome to go and check it out. It has been filled so far with designs for drinkware makers, but I am going to be expanding my wares to include other design related things that are good for entrepreneurs in general who are working online. But today I am doing a tutorial, a typography tutorial on a font from one of my favorite font designers, Nikki Latz, and it's called Indigo Summer. And the reason that I picked this font to do a tutorial on is because it has so many goodies included inside of it. And it is actually only like 20 bucks, super cheap. But right here in this fourth picture, actually I'm going to zoom in a little bit, you can see it comes with the regular script font, a lovely serif that has neat little illustrations inside of it, also a solid version of that serif, and a handy little sans serif down here in all caps. It also has a bunch of illustrations, like see this cute little arrow and lines and things? Those are included as well. So it was just packed full of goodies, and that's why I picked it. So I created 3 typography designs. It took me no time at all, so easy. When you have the right font, this kind of stuff just really comes together. And so I'm going to show you how to do these. I'm going to be working fairly quickly, but I just want you to see, first of all, my thought process when it comes to working on a typography design, and then secondly, just how this font comes together and how I constructed these things in Photoshop. How I'm putting this together here is similar to how you would put it together in Illustrator, or maybe inside of your cutting software, but I'm using specific palettes and controls inside of inside of Photoshop today because that's my jam. So let's start with this design right here. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to turn down the opacity on this, and I'm going to actually design right over top of it. Now, and then I'm going to make a new layer. Actually, if you just go down to the bottom of the layers palette, there's a little plus down there. You click it, makes a new layer, and that's just going to be a little fresh place where I'm going to start adding some text. Whenever I start a new typography design, I'll generally look at my phrase and think about how I could break it apart. So my phrase is a mother understands what a child does not say. And I believe this is a Hebrew proverb. Not entirely sure, but I just remember it. I've always loved it. And so when you're looking at a sentence like this and knowing that you're going to be, I'm just going to make it a little smaller, you're going to be breaking it up into different font styles. What I like to do first is find the small words, and because those are going to be the smallest font. So like A is probably going to be something small, something sans serif. Here's another A. If there's the, of, in this case, what a, if sometimes there's a couple words that you're going to put together. So this is probably going to be the same font as this. Words that are organic or feminine or need a little more emphasis will get a script font treatment. So mother and child, I'm definitely going to use script on those. And then other words that are important get some other font treatment. So understands is going to get a treatment, and does not say is going to get a similar treatment. So it is possible to go and have just one text block and then go into it and start editing it with different fonts and then just rearrange them to fit. But that's a little bit agonizing, a little bit time consuming. So I like to just break this up into separate little typography chunks. and then I'll just duplicate those. What I do is I hold Shift Option and I drag that layer down. It makes a duplicate. You could also go up into this little hamburger menu, and I think you can, yeah, duplicate layer right there, but I like to use the keyboard commands. So I have this is going to be mother, so I just need to make that bigger. I'm going to do another one here. I'm going to say understands. Again, that one has to be bigger. And then we'll drag this one down. I'm going to say what that could actually possibly be a little smaller. Drag another one down, child, and then does not say. So those are all separate words. Now sometimes I'll wait and do the duplicating after I've started designing, so that way I can keep font sizes consistent. But right now, just to be clear from start to finish, I'm just breaking it up like this. So let's turn that layer back on, and I'm going to hide these things. So I just have A. So here's A. Now, like I said, this font comes with 4 different treatments. So for this first treatment, I'm picking Indigo Summer Sands up here in the type control bar. I could also be editing this inside of the character palette, which is sitting over here. If I pop that open, I can drag it out so you can see. This is another place where you can pick your font choices. If you don't have this and you don't want to work up here, you can open up this palette by going to Window, Character, and it brings it back. And then I like to just tuck it out of the way by dragging it over to the side, and then the little blue area indicates where it's going to go. So just so you know, that's where that is. So like I said, for this we are picking the Indigo Summer Sands. Okay, so there's A. I actually need to make it a little smaller, so I'm just gonna, what I do is I highlight it by double clicking on the T, and then I can go, I'm going back up to the type menu here because it's just more convenient. If I go up to this type menu, I can change the size by typing, by picking from the drop down, or I can just put my mouse over the little T's here and I get like a little left right arrow thing happening. If I drag it left, the font gets smaller. If I drag it right, it gets bigger. So I can modify it like that. All right, now let's bring in Mother. So Mother is going to be that script font. So let's go ahead and pop in here. We're going to pick Indigo Summer Script Upright. And then again, I'm just dragging it out. And I see that I had a capital M on that. So let's do a capital M. And then we're just going to pop it into place. And I'll continue on with the next word. So that's understands. So again, I'm just going to make this bigger. Just pick the, which one is it? This, Indigo Summer Serif, and then just make it the right size. And kind of drag that into place. I can continue to modify the size on that until it looks right. Sometimes you have to make your box a little bigger, but that looks good. Now what A is the same font as the A I did earlier, so actually I'm going to delete that. I'm just going to grab the A, save myself some time, and hold Shift Option and duplicate it. I'm just dragging it down here because I like to have my layers in order, top to bottom. Whenever you make a new layer in Photoshop, it sticks it on top of the other layer, which I understand why they do that, but it bothers me, it annoys me. I like to have things stacked in order. Okay, so this is supposed to say what A. I'm going to make that bigger. Now you'll note that, let me just resize this. This is all caps, and you might be thinking, oh, do you have the all caps button pressed inside your character palette? And I'll show you what that looks like. So if I go over here to my character palette, there's this button down here where you can force a font to be all caps. It is not clicked because this font is just all caps. Sometimes when you buy a font family and it has a bunch of neat different versions of itself, some of the versions are just in all caps and there is no lowercase available. So that's the deal with this one. Now again, child is going to get the same treatment as mother. So I know it's weird that I'm deleting these now, but it really is easy for me to just copy something. Like I know I want mother and child to have the same font. I also would like them to have the same size. So that's why I just want to duplicate mother and drag it down. And we're going to call that child. And I'm just going to use my arrow keys to pop that over. And then does not say, it's going to be the other upright, or the other, let's see, serif solid. That's the one. And I'm just going to make that bigger. And put it into place. Now something I do that you don't have to do, but I like to make my sizes of my text be like nice round numbers. So you see if I click on this, it's 308. Sometimes it'll be 308.25, or it's like 309. I'm like, nah, just make it a 310. So sometimes I will go in and kind of just make the font sizes consistent like that, but I'm not going to bother with that today. So now we want to pull in these little illustrations. So where do we get those? Well, when I bought this font, it came with these things. It came with a card mockup, PSD, which I'm not using. It came with all the various font parts, which I installed, a help menu I haven't looked at, and this vectors folder, which has both Illustrator illustrations and Photoshop ones. I'm going to pop open the Photoshop illustrations. And then the next thing I like to do is make a layer. If you create new layer, it puts it on top. You can drag it down below. You could also just click Command and press that button and it would actually put it below. But the point here is that I'm going to fill this empty layer with white. Edit, fill with white, just so it's easier to see. It's hard to see when you're looking through transparency. Also, incidentally, while you're in here, you will note some of her illustrations have like the and as little decorative items. So that kind of reinforces what I was saying earlier about how you can make some of the simpler little bits like a and what a into something small, and it has like its own special treatment. Sometimes it's baked right into the illustrations. So what we need is we want this little hearty swashy shape. So that is down here at the bottom. So what I like to do when I have a big folder of illustrations like this, see every single one of these is a compound shape, is I'll go up in the top upper left corner of the Photoshop window and you click on this where it says auto select, and you want to say layer, and I'm going to go down, I'm going to find this swash, I'm just going to click on some part of it like the heart, and it selects it from the layers. And I'm just going to double check I got the whole thing. I did. So then I'm going to grab it, I'm going to drag it over to the tab for my other window and just drop it in. Now once it's in here, it's important that you unclick auto select, otherwise you're going to start dragging your background around and that's really annoying. So I unclicked it and I'm just moving our compound shape into place. I'm going to hit Command T, which is transform. You could also go up to edit, transform, and I'm just going to drag from the corner to make it the size that I want. That looks great. And now I want this little line here. So I'm going to pop back over, and I think that line is this one. Again, I'm going to turn on auto select. I'm going to grab a line, double check I have the right one. I'm going to drag it over onto the other tab, and then I'm going to pull it into place. Oops, got to turn off that auto select. Pull it into place. Hit Command T to transform it again, just make it a little longer, and then I actually rotate it a bit. And to get the rotate, when you're in transform, you just move your mouse until it curves. You kind of move it into the corner of the bounding box on your transformed area. And it turns into a curve, and then you can just drag up or down to get it in place. And hit return, and then it is done. And there you go. So I can turn off the old one. I like to sometimes group these together. I'm just going to hold down the bottom layer. I'm going to press Shift to go up and click the top layer. and then Command G can group them together, or I can press this little folder down here. Now it is a group. So it would be pretty easy for a graphics purposes to like change the color with a color overlay or whatever I wanted to do here. But I'm not going to do any of that. Just showing it to you. So that is the first design.